Hello, geographers, wherever you're at. My name is Teacher Agre with Extreme Geography, a YouTube channel dedicated to helping IGCSE students all around the world to prepare for their final exams. I am thrilled for those who have subscribed to this channel. If you haven't, please hit that red button. Today, I want to introduce another Section C topic, and this is called energy. I will break it into three short lessons, and this is lesson one. By the end of this lesson, I expect that you should be able to differentiate between renewable and non-renewable energy. You should be able to describe how fossil fuels are obtained, and you also should be able to describe how thermal energy is produced and supplied. You should also be able to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of using fossil fuels to produce energy. Let's get started. Types of energy. We have two types of energy. Number one is renewable energy, and this is the energy from naturally occurring sources that constantly replenish. It is potentially infinite, which means that it never gets exhausted, and examples include solar energy, wind energy, hydroelectric power, abbreviated as HEP, wave energy, and tidal energy. There is also geothermal energy. Number two is non-renewable energy. This is energy that comes from sources that get exhausted or will not be replenished for thousands or even millions of years. The energy sources cannot be reproduced in the time that it takes to consume them. For example, thermal power from fossil fuels such as oil, coal, and natural gas. Fossil fuels mean any combustible organic matter that is made from the remains of former flora and fauna. Let's go ahead and take a look at the contribution of each energy source to the world energy supply. We can call this global energy mix, and I'm going to base my discussion on the 2020 data from the International Energy Agency. According to this diagram, it shows that 30% of world energy is produced from oil, while 28% of energy is got from coal. In third position, we have natural gas, which is 22%. And all these three are non-renewable energy, or what we call non-clean energy. And then the rest of the power is produced from clean energy sources. Nuclear is 6%, and biomass and biofuels, that includes charcoal and firewood, is 10%. And then we have hydroelectric power taking 3%, and 2% is from other renewable energy sources, for example, solar, wind, wave and tidal power. Also, that includes geothermal power. So I want you to pause the video and be able to look at the percentages or the contributions of the different energy sources in the world energy supply. Let's now look at the changes in energy sources as countries develop. So as the world's population continues to grow and as people's level of development continue to grow, so does the demand for energy. In traditional or less developed societies, the main source of energy tends to be fuel wood, that is firewood and charcoal, which is mainly used for heating in houses, cooking, and even scaring away animals. However, increased use of fuel wood is partly responsible for the desertification and soil erosion and has increased indoor air pollution through the release of carbon monoxide gas, otherwise known as smoke. As countries begin to develop, they can begin to afford to build power stations to produce thermal electricity using fossil fuels such as petroleum, coal, and natural gas. This is because they have the money to buy the raw materials that I've mentioned above, and the relevant technology exists and is affordable to them. As countries develop further, their sources of energy may change again. They will probably still be heavily dependent on fossil fuels, but will begin to use more renewable or clean energy, and especially more of nuclear. Let's use pie charts to make a comparison between energy sources in an LEDC and in an MEDC. For the LEDC, we are using an example of Rwanda, and from this pie chart, you can see that 57% of energy is from wood, while 23% is from charcoal, and 11% is from petroleum. All these are non-renewable sources of energy. 5% is from crop residues and peat. You could call that one coal. And 4% is the electricity that is generated from wind, from solar, from water, for example, HEP. For the country like France, which is an MEDC, it produces much of its electricity from nuclear. That is 62% in 2018. 20% is hydropower, while 11% is from solar and wind energy. And then fossil fuels, that is coal, petroleum, and natural gas, is only 7%. So, like we said, as the country develops, it will tend to use more of renewable energy sources, or what we call clean energy, and that is a very good example from France. We also need to understand that there are always some exceptions to the rule. For example, Costa Rica, which is an LEDC, gets the majority of its power from renewable sources, while some MEDCs, such as USA, get much of their energy from non-renewable sources. I want you to pause this video and take a look at the percentages of this power. However, I want to point out that only 11% of the total power produced and used in USA is renewable energy. Let's also go ahead and compare energy sources for Rwanda, which is an LEDC, in 2019 and 2024 using pie charts. And I want you to pause this video, make an observation on both pie charts, and write down the differences and similarities. Remember that we said that when the country is still developing, when it is still an LEDC, it will tend to use more of non-renewable energy sources, but as it develops further, it will change and use more of clean energy or renewable energy sources. Let's explore some reasons why countries turn to clean energy as they develop. One, there is a greater concern for the environment. Remember that fossil fuels emit greenhouse gases that have single-handedly led to global warming. Number two is there is a rise in the prices of fossil fuels. For example, oil and natural gas, yet the clean energy sources such as sun and wind or even water are free. There is also an increase in the knowledge that fossil fuels are finite or they can get exhausted, which means that they would be used less in order to conserve them. Our countries also turn to clean energy in order to reduce reliance on fossil fuel exporting countries. For example, the OPEC countries like Saudi Arabia. As countries develop, there is an improvement in renewable technology such as the wind energy, tidal energy. So countries tend to produce this kind of energy rather than relying on fossil fuels. Some countries may have the desire of developing and selling renewable technology for profit or foreign exchange, and therefore they will turn to producing renewable energy. There is also a great need to improve energy security by increasing domestic energy production, and therefore people or countries will tend to produce more of renewable energy, which we are going to see that they never get exhausted. So let's take a look at how non-renewable energy sources or fossil fuels are obtained. Coal is one of those fossil fuels, and this is obtained through underground mining, through shafts and adits. Shafts are vertical tunnels, while adits are horizontal tunnels. Natural gas is often found together with oil deposits and can be extracted by drilling method. However, we want to understand that underground mining may cause some problems, for example, ground subsidence, and often people die when the roofs of adits collapse. Much land is also used as waste deposits, which limits land available for other activities. Oil and gas drilling may cause water pollution and death of aquatic animals such as fish. A very good example is the extraction of methane gas from Lake Kivu in Rwanda that has made the lake not habitable for fish. And then finally, extraction of fossil fuels may require high initial costs, and it requires sophisticated technology to undertake, and sometimes this is not available, especially for the LEDCs. Let's go ahead and look at how thermal energy is produced and supplied. Normally, there is a question that they ask that explain the different methods of supplying power or supplying energy. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. In a coal-fired steam station, coal is burnt and the heat produced is used to boil water and turn it into steam. The steam then drives the turbines to produce electricity in a generator. The energy produced is transmitted into a transformer, which supplies it into transmission lines, or what we can call wires, to people's homes and businesses. Other fossil fuels like oil and natural gas are used in the same way. You could also pause this video and take a look at the process that is involved in the production of thermal electricity. Let's now go ahead and look at the advantages and disadvantages of using each of the fossil fuels that we mentioned above. Just a reminder, we have oil, or what we call petroleum, we have natural gas, and we also have coal. That is what we're going to concentrate on. So advantages of using coal: one is that energy production using coal can be increased or decreased according to the demand. The technology to burn coal to generate electricity is already available, and even LEDCs are able to afford this one. Disadvantages: one of them is that coal is finite, which means it will eventually run out and therefore power production may stop. Many existing reserves are becoming harder to extract or are in environmentally sensitive areas. For example, coal mines that are under equatorial rainforests. Coal releases large amounts of greenhouse gases when burned, and this means it causes global warming. Coal is very bulky and expensive to transport around the world, and therefore many people may tend to avoid the use of coal. Let's go ahead and look at the advantages of using oil as a source of thermal energy. And one advantage is that energy production using oil can be increased or decreased according to the demand, just as we said for coal. And then the technology also is available and is affordable for all countries, including the LEDCs. And oil can be transported efficiently using pipelines. The technology to extract oil from deeper reserves is also improving, and therefore there is plentiful supply of oil. However, we should remember that oil, just as coal, is finite, so it will eventually run out. And a lot of oil is located in politically unstable countries, for example, Libya and Iraq. And a lot of oil is located in environmentally sensitive areas. Oil releases large amounts of greenhouse gases when burned, therefore, it is a major cause of global warming. Oil is also vulnerable to large scale price changes, or what we call fluctuations. For example, in the year 2020, oil prices drastically fell, causing economic problems to oil producing countries, for example, Saudi Arabia. And establishment of oil refineries is very expensive, especially for LEDCs like Uganda. Let's now go ahead and look at the advantages and disadvantages of using natural gas to produce thermal electricity. Advantage number one is that the energy production using gas can be increased or decreased according to demand. The technology to burn gas to generate electricity already exists, and also burning gas releases less greenhouse gases than coal and oil. It is also now possible to compress gas and transport it more easily using gas cylinders. The disadvantages, number one, is that gas is finite, so it will eventually run out, and a lot of gas is located in politically unstable countries or even environmentally sensitive areas. Gas is vulnerable to leaks and explosions. Those are some of the disadvantages. You notice that some of the points overlap or they are the same in the three sources of non-renewable energy. So that's the end of our lesson. I'm going to leave an assignment, so please try to answer it.